There are moments in life that don't just break you, they fracture your soul into sharp little pieces you'll never quite piece together again. I was standing in the kitchen of a stranger's house at a party I didn't want to be at, surrounded by people I didn't know, sipping on a warm beer that tasted like piss. My wife, Lauren, blonde, beautiful, venom in heels, had dragged me here under the guise of networking. Said her coworker Rachel was throwing a birthday bash and that it'd be good for us. Us. She liked using that word like it still meant something. I should have left the second I saw her outfit. She wore a red dress so tight I could hear it beg for mercy. Not for me. Never for me. I was just an accessory, a watch, a wallet, a name on the lease. The music was loud. The laughter louder. And then I heard her. Loud. Clear. Cruel. She was in the living room, holding a wine glass like a trophy, laughing with a circle of strangers who leaned in as if her words were gospel. My husband. She smirked, raising her voice just enough to cut through the bass. He's just a useless spectator in our marital bed. I mean, if it wasn't for his paycheck, I wouldn't even remember he exists. Laughter exploded. I froze. Beer slipped from my hand and shattered on the tile, the bottle echoing like a gunshot. Heads turned. Hers didn't. She knew I heard. And she didn't flinch. I turned and walked out. Just like that. Out the door. Into the cold night air. My fists clenched so hard my knuckles turned white. I didn't even feel the glass shards cutting into my palm. 10 years married. 10 years of birthdays, mortgages, vacations, and fighting over the thermostat. And she reduced me to a punchline. A spectator. I sat in the car for an hour. No calls. No texts. No apology. When I got home, she was already in bed, back turned, her makeup still perfect, phone in hand, scrolling like nothing had happened. I stood there in the doorway. She didn't look up. You really meant that? I asked, voice low, cracked like a dry leaf. She glanced at me, sighed like I was the interruption in her otherwise pleasant night. Don't be so dramatic, Kyle. It was a joke. A joke? About how I'm nothing to you? God, you're so sensitive lately. Maybe if you weren't so boring, I wouldn't have to make my own fun. She turned off the light. That was it. That was the first night I slept on the couch. But it wouldn't be the last. I should have seen the signs. The new perfume. The gym sessions that always went 2 hours over. The way she smiled at her phone like it was whispering sweet poison in her ear. But love makes you blind. And pride makes you stupid. That party? That wasn't the beginning. That was just the mask slipping. The next morning, she was gone before I woke up. Left a note on the counter. Brunch with Rachel. Don't wait up. I didn't go to work. I opened her laptop instead. And there it was. A folder titled Photo Shoot. Inside, dozens of pictures. Her. In lingerie I never saw. Her lips wrapped around champagne bottles, with cream on her chest, the kind of filth that wasn't art, it was performance. In front and center? A man I'd never seen before. Muscles. Tattoos. Arms wrapped around her like I never could. His face buried in her neck. Her eyes rolled back. My chest burned like acid. Every breath was a war. There were videos, too. I didn't watch them. Not yet. But I would. I sat there for hours, clicking through her betrayal frame by frame, as if analyzing the damage would make it hurt less. It didn't. What broke me wasn't the acts themselves. It was the look on her face. Happiness. She looked alive. Wild. Lit from within. And I realized she hadn't just cheated. She abandoned me long before the affair. This was just the evidence. I closed the laptop and stared out the window, my reflection barely visible in the glass. A ghost in his own home. A spectator. A joke. But the joke was about to end. And I was done laughing. The next day, I didn't go to work. I didn't eat. Didn't sleep. I sat in the living room with that damn laptop on my knees like it was breathing, pulsing, whispering things I wasn't ready to hear. I didn't touch it again for hours. But I didn't need to. Her voice from the party kept echoing. He's just a useless spectator in our marital bed. I wasn't even angry anymore. Just hollow. That numb kind of broken where even rage feels like too much effort. But something inside me had already started to shift. I wasn't going to be the joke anymore. She came home late that night. No explanation. No kiss. She dumped her purse on the counter and walked straight into the bedroom like I didn't exist. I followed her. Where were you? I asked. She turned, pulling her earrings off with lazy fingers. Out. With who? She raised an eyebrow, smirking. Well, jealousy looks cute on you. I saw the photos, Lauren. That wiped the smirk off her face. Her eyes narrowed, calculating. Cold. What photos? Don't play dumb. The ones on your laptop. The ones where he's grabbing you like you belong to him. The ones where you're smiling like I never meant anything. There was a flicker. Not guilt. Not fear. Just annoyance. Like I was being inconvenient. So what? You were snooping through my stuff now. That's your defense? You know what, Kyle? She scoffed, stepping toward me. I've spent years being the perfect wife. Hosting your friends, keeping your laundry clean, listening to you talk about spreadsheets and car warranties. And what did I get in return? Boredom. Routine. A husband who acts like a roommate. I needed something real. That wasn't real. That was you degrading yourself with some gym rat who can barely spell. He made me feel wanted. Her voice cracked, but not from pain. From fury. From entitlement. And you didn't even notice. You didn't notice when I stopped kissing you goodnight. When I started sleeping with my back to you. You didn't care. I was stunned. She wasn't even sorry. Not an ounce of shame. You humiliated me in front of strangers. You laughed about our marriage like it was a sitcom. She shrugged. Maybe because it was. A boring one. I stepped back. I felt like vomiting. This wasn't the woman I married. Or maybe it was. Maybe I just never saw her clearly. I left the room before I did something I'd regret. Spent the night in my car, watching headlights pass, counting seconds like I was in prison. The next morning, she texted me. We need to talk. Don't make this ugly. I didn't reply. Instead, I called my lawyer. And that night, I watched the videos. I don't know why I did it. Maybe I needed to see the full depth of it. The proof that I wasn't crazy. That the love I thought we had died a long time ago, and she'd just been dancing on its grave. I won't go into detail. Just know this. She didn't look ashamed. She looked free. Wild. Unchained. Like I'd never known her at all. One video had audio. He called her my wife in it. She laughed and said, he's nobody. That was it. I shut the laptop and walked into the bedroom. She was there, scrolling her phone again. Calm. Like nothing happened. I filed for divorce, I said. She blinked. Just once. Then smirked. About time. That was all she said. No tears. No begging. Just that damn smirk. And in that moment, I realized she never loved me. Not really. She loved the life. The stability. The house. The way I made her look to her friends. But me? I was disposable. And finally, I was done being disposable. I didn't stay another night in that house. I packed a duffel bag with the essentials, just enough to get by, and walked out without saying a word. She didn't follow. She didn't ask where I was going. She didn't even look up from her phone. I slept at my brother's place that night, on his lumpy couch that smelled like beer and old socks. He didn't ask questions, didn't need to. One look at my face told him enough. He handed me a beer, turned on the game, and sat in silence with me for hours. It was the first time I felt like a human in weeks. The following days passed in a blur. Paperwork. Phone calls. Dividing property. She wasn't difficult. She was eager. Too eager. Like she'd been waiting for this. There were no tears, no dramatic scenes. She wanted out clean, fast, and with as much of my stuff as possible. It made me wonder how long she'd been planning it. Then came the real gut punch. I went back to the house one afternoon to grab a few things I'd left behind. When I walked in, there was music playing. Something soft, jazzy, familiar. Her laugh drifted down the hallway, followed by a male voice I didn't recognize. I stood still in the foyer, keys still in my hand. And then I saw them. In our kitchen. She was wearing one of my shirts, my old college hoodie, oversized on her frame, and feeding some guy a bite of pasta straight from the fork. He was leaning into her like he owned the place. Like I'd never existed. They didn't see me. I turned and left without a word. Drove aimlessly for hours, fists clenched around the wheel so tight they ached. That night, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I started writing everything down. Every detail. Every lie. Every moment I'd ignored the red flags because I thought loving her meant being patient. Being loyal. Being blind. I remembered the first time I noticed her pulling away. It was subtle. Less laughter. Less touching. More girls' nights that ended at 3 a.m. She'd come home smelling like smoke and perfume that wasn't hers. I'd asked once, maybe twice. She'd called me paranoid. Insecure. She flipped it on me so fast, I actually apologized for asking. Now I knew the truth. She wasn't just cheating. She was rewriting the story, casting herself as the victim before I even had a chance to speak. She'd already told her friends I was cold, distant, emotionally unavailable. That I worked too much. That I was never present. I was paying the mortgage, cleaning up after her drunk nights, covering her credit card bills. But I wasn't present. I should have seen it. But I didn't want to believe that the woman I loved, the woman I gave my everything to, was capable of being so cold, so calculated. But she was. And now, there was nothing left to salvage. The final blow came when I received an envelope in the mail, anonymous. Inside was a flash drive. Curiosity got the better of me. There were more videos. Not just with one guy. Multiple. Different places. Hotels. Bathrooms. Even one in my car. It was a collection. A greatest hits reel of her betrayal. And in one of them, she said something I'll never forget. She was laughing, lipstick smeared, and she told the man, "He's so easy to lie to. Sometimes I tell him I'm out with my mom, and I'm actually doing this. I don't think he even wants the truth anymore. He just wants peace." That one cut the deepest. Because she was right. For a long time, I had just wanted peace. I'd ignored the signs, pretended things were fine, smiled through the tension. All because I loved her. All because I believed in the vows we made. And she'd thrown them away like trash. That night, I deleted every photo of us from my phone. Every anniversary video. Every message where she said, "forever." I emptied the memory because it wasn't real. None of it was. But I didn't break. I sharpened. I looked at myself in the mirror and didn't see a victim anymore. I saw a man who had been burned, but not destroyed. And I swore she would never have that kind of power over me again. Divorce finalized on a rainy Thursday. Fitting, really. She showed up in a cream blazer and sunglasses, like she was heading to brunch, not the death of a decade-long relationship. Didn't say a word to me. Just smiled that smug little smile as the judge wrapped everything up in under 15 minutes. She walked out with half my savings, the house, and the car we picked out together. The one I worked weekends to afford. And she didn't blink. Didn't flinch. Just signed her name and vanished into the parking lot with her new toy boy waiting in the passenger seat, probably the same guy from the pasta scene. I stood outside the courthouse for a while after that. In the rain. No umbrella. No jacket. Just my breath fogging in the cold, wondering how the hell my life had unraveled this far without me seeing it coming. But I didn't chase her. Not this time. That night, I got drunk for the first time in months. Not the sad kind of drunk. Not the broken, crying on the floor type either. Just a silent, reflective drunk where your memories play out like a slow, twisted movie in your head. I sat on my brother's porch with a bottle of whiskey and let it all come. Her lies. Her laughs. That one night she said, "You're too soft for a man. You feel too much. Maybe that's why I look elsewhere." She had said it during an argument over something small, dishes, I think. But now I saw it for what it was. She didn't just betray me physically. She dismantled me piece by piece, breaking my confidence until I wasn't even sure I could trust my own instincts. And now? Now I was alone, but not broken. The next morning, I started running again. That was the first step. Not metaphorically. Literally. 5 miles before the sun came up. Just me, the pavement, and the sound of breath I hadn't listened to in months. I didn't think about her. I didn't think about him. I thought about the rhythm of my feet, the beat of my heart, the fact that I was still here. Weeks passed. I stopped checking her socials. I deleted our Spotify playlist. I boxed up the wedding photos and gave them to my sister. Let her do whatever the hell she wanted with them. I didn't want to look at them anymore. But it wasn't over yet. One night, I got a message. A DM from a name I didn't recognize. "Hey Kyle, you don't know me, but I thought you should see this. I think your ex-wife is messing with my brother. He doesn't know she's married or divorced now, I guess." Attached was a video. Same smile. Same tricks. Different victim. She was out there running the same game, latching onto someone new, probably feeding him the same sob story she once fed me. She's cold. He was emotionally abusive. She never felt truly loved. I'd heard it before. And as much as it disgusted me, I wasn't surprised. She was a pattern, not a person. I thanked the guy, blocked the account, and tossed my phone on the nightstand. It wasn't my problem anymore. Let someone else play the spectator this time. I had my own life to rebuild. Brick by brick. I started therapy. Got a new job. Smaller office. Better people. I bought a used truck. Not flashy, but it was mine. Every weekend I went hiking, camping, doing the kind of stuff she used to roll her eyes at. And little by little, I started to feel like me again. Not the version she tolerated, but the real version. The one that laughed loud. The one that sang off-key in the car. The one that didn't apologize for feeling everything too deeply. I wasn't just surviving. I was healing. one scar at a time. One evening, about 2 months after the divorce was finalized, I got a call from a number I hadn't saved but instantly recognized. Lauren. I stared at the screen for a few seconds, thumb hovering over the decline button. But something in me, maybe curiosity, maybe closure, made me answer. Hello, Kyle, she said, her voice softer than I remembered. Not the usual sharp tone she used when she was bored with me. No, this one was carefully measured, dipped in sugar, like she was reaching into the past and pulling out a version of herself that had long since died. I was wondering how you've been. There was silence on my end. I'm fine, I finally said. Another pause. I've been thinking about everything, she continued. The way things ended. I know I said some awful things. Did awful things. I didn't reply. I let her sit in the space between us, let her feel the emptiness she created. I just want you to know that I never meant to hurt you like that. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny. Because it was so outrageously fake, so far removed from the truth, it felt like she was still trying to act her way out of it. You said I was useless. You said I was boring. You said I didn't exist to you, I said, my voice flat. You didn't just hurt me, Lauren. You humiliated me. Over and over again. And you didn't even blink while doing it. I was lost, Kyle. You don't know what I was dealing with. Save it. She went quiet again. I saw the videos, I added. All of them. That hit her. I could feel it through the silence. You were never lost. You were just greedy. You had a good man, and you wanted more attention, more validation, more everything. You don't understand it. No, you don't understand. You don't cheat on someone you love. You don't laugh about them in front of strangers. And you damn sure don't get to rewrite the story just because you're feeling guilty. She sniffled. Was she crying? I couldn't tell. Didn't care. I miss you sometimes, she said, barely above a whisper. I took a deep breath. I don't. Click. I blocked the number right after that. Not out of spite. Out of peace. Out of respect for myself. Because no matter how soft her voice was, no matter how teary the apology, she was still the woman who looked me in the eye and chose someone else. Repeatedly. She was still the one who smirked when I said I was leaving. Who reduced our life to a punchline at a party. I was done holding on to ghosts. A few weeks later, I met someone. At a bookstore, of all places. Her name was Natalie. She had dark curly hair, a nervous laugh, and eyes that actually looked at me when I spoke. We talked for hours. About real things. Childhood, books, family. She didn't compare me to anyone. She didn't talk about exes or toxic pasts. She asked about me. Listened. Smiled in a way that didn't feel forced. I didn't tell her everything at first. I wasn't ready. But I told her enough. And she said, sounds like you went through hell. I nodded. Yeah, but I walked out of it. She smiled. You didn't just walk out. You rebuilt. Maybe I had. Because somewhere between that party and this conversation, I stopped being the broken man on the couch. I stopped being the punchline. I became the guy who knew his worth. And I wasn't going back. Natalie and I took it slow. I wasn't ready to dive headfirst into anything serious, and she respected that. No pressure. No games. Just two people, getting to know each other, one honest conversation at a time. And honestly, that was the scariest part. Because after years of being lied to, manipulated, made to feel like I was somehow always the problem, learning to trust someone again felt like standing on cracked ice. But she never rushed me. If I pulled back, she gave me space. If I got quiet, she didn't poke. And one night, while we were walking by the river, she stopped mid-sentence, looked at me, and said, You know, I don't need you to be perfect. I just want you to be real. No one had ever said that to me before. Not like that. Not without conditions. I didn't answer right away. Just nodded and kept walking. And she let me. Weeks turned into months, and slowly, my world began to shift. I moved into a new place, not big, not flashy, but mine. I painted the walls myself. Bought mismatched furniture from thrift shops. There was something healing in building something from scratch, something that didn't carry the scent of betrayal in every corner. I kept running. Joined a local group. Made friends. Laughed more than I had in years. And Lauren? She stayed gone. Occasionally I'd hear whispers, mutual friends mentioning that things didn't work out with the guy she left me for. That she moved again. That she started showing up to parties alone, looking hollow, like something inside her got left behind. I didn't feel pity. I didn't feel anger. I felt nothing. She was a chapter. One I had finally closed without folding the corners. But closure isn't always quiet. One afternoon, I got an envelope in the mail. No return address. Inside was a single photo. A printed screenshot of one of the old videos I'd seen, her and one of her lovers, in my car, her smirking like she owned the world. On the back, in messy handwriting, thought you might miss this. No name. No message. Just poison. I sat there holding it for a minute. Not because it hurt, but because I realized it didn't. It was pathetic. A last swing from someone who couldn't stand the fact that I moved on, healed, found happiness without her. I burned the photo that night. Watched the flames curl the edges, twist her smile into smoke, and disappear. Natalie came over later, bringing homemade cookies and a bottle of wine. We sat on the floor, eating and drinking like teenagers, and I told her about the photo. She didn't ask who sent it. She didn't ask for details. She just said, "You're not who she tried to make you. You're more." I looked at her, the way her eyes softened when she said it, and for the first time since everything fell apart, I believed it. She leaned against me. I wrapped my arm around her. And in the quiet that followed, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Home. Not the kind with walls and rings and photos on mantles. The kind you find in peace. In knowing who you were after being told you're nothing. And the next morning, when the sun spilled through the curtains and her fingers traced lazy circles on my arm, I realized something simple, something powerful. I didn't lose. I escaped. And I was never going back. Fall rolled in with golden leaves and crisp mornings, and for the first time in years, I welcomed the change of seasons like an old friend. There was a comfort in the rhythm of it all, like life was realigning itself after years of chaos. Natalie and I had found a routine. Slow mornings with black coffee. Late-night drives with no destination. Sundays at the farmer's market, picking out vegetables neither of us knew how to cook but bought anyway just for the experience. I started sleeping through the night again. No dreams of her face. No waking up in cold sweats with my heart pounding. That part of me, the one that used to flinch at every vibration of my phone, the one that dissected every text message for hidden meanings, was gone. One night, Natalie and I were sitting on my balcony, wrapped in a blanket, watching the city lights flicker in the distance. She rested her head on my shoulder, and without even turning to look at me, she said, "Do you think you'll ever talk to her again?" It caught me off guard. "I don't know," I said honestly, "but I have nothing left to say." "That's good," she whispered. "It means you're free." And she was right. The real chains had never been the marriage certificate or the memories, weighed down and sharpened with betrayal. They were the what-ifs. The lingering hope that maybe I'd misread something. That maybe the woman I loved still existed somewhere underneath the lies. But she didn't. And I had finally stopped searching. A few weeks later, I ran into one of Lauren's old friends, Megan, at a gas station. She spotted me by the coffee machine, did a double take, and then walked over slowly, her smile cautious. "Kyle," she said. "Wow, you look good." I thanked her. She asked about work, life, how I'd been. I kept my answers short but polite. Then she said something that made me pause. "She talks about you sometimes, you know. Says she messed everything up. Says you were the only one who ever really loved her." I stared at her, unsure how to respond. "And now?" I asked. Megan shrugged. "She's different. Drinks more. Can't keep a relationship going. Blames everyone but herself." Same old story. There was no satisfaction in hearing it. Just a deep, quiet sadness. "She'll never say it to you," Megan added. "But she knows she lost the best thing she ever had." I nodded. That's not my burden anymore. We said our goodbyes, and as I got into my truck, I felt lighter. Like some invisible knot in my chest had finally loosened. Not because I cared what Lauren thought now, but because I didn't. Her opinion no longer had weight. Her regret couldn't stitch back what she tore apart. That night, I told Natalie about the encounter. She didn't say much, just held my hand and kissed my cheek. No jealousy, no insecurity, just quiet strength. And I realized something. Lauren was loud. She had always been loud, her drama, her demands, her chaos. But Natalie? She was calm, safe, steady. She didn't burn the house down just to feel something. She built warmth into every room she entered. A few days later, we took a weekend trip to a cabin upstate. Just us, the woods, and silence. No phones. No distractions. We hiked, we cooked over fire, we watched stars for hours like kids seeing the sky for the first time. That night, lying beside her with the window cracked open and the cold night air spilling in, I thought about everything I had survived. Not just the betrayal, the unbecoming. The way she made me question my worth. The way I slowly disappeared in a house full of my own things. But now? Now I was found. Piece by piece, word by word, I had put myself back together. Not for her. Not for revenge. For me. And as I drifted off to sleep with Natalie's breath soft against my neck, I knew. The story wasn't about how she broke me. It was about how I rebuilt. Stronger. Wiser. And no longer a spectator in anyone's life, especially my own. It was a rainy Thursday again, exactly 1 year since the divorce was finalized. I didn't plan anything symbolic, didn't light a candle or pour a drink. But somewhere in the back of my mind, I knew. I remembered. The anniversary of the day I chose myself. I was walking downtown after work, just grabbing groceries, when I saw her again. Lauren. Standing under the awning of a coffee shop, soaked despite the umbrella she was holding. She looked older, not in the way time does to a person, but in the way life does. Worn. Tired. There was a hollowness in her eyes I'd never seen before. Our eyes met. She gave me a small nod. Almost like a peace offering. I walked past her. I didn't stop. I didn't wave. I didn't need to. And for the first time, I realized, closure doesn't come from apologies. It doesn't come from revenge or confrontation or answers. It comes when you no longer need any of it. I got home, and Natalie was already there, barefoot in the kitchen, trying to cook something she'd never made before and laughing at her own disaster. The whole place smelled like garlic and burnt toast. She looked at me, flour on her cheek, hair pulled back messily, and smiled like I was the only thing in the world that mattered. I wrapped my arms around her from behind and whispered, "You have no idea how much I appreciate you." She leaned back into me. "I don't need to. I feel it." And she did. Because this version of me? He loved openly, fearlessly, without second-guessing every word, every glance, every silence. I wasn't that fractured man anymore, sitting in his car, bleeding in the dark while the woman he loved laughed at his pain. I was whole. And not because someone came along to fix me, but because I finally realized I wasn't broken to begin with. So if you're reading this, and you're where I was, let me say this. You are not the lies they told you. You are not the silence they used to control you. You are not the failure they made you feel like. You are enough. But more importantly, you're allowed to leave. To rebuild. To choose peace over chaos. To stop waiting for someone to love you the way you've always loved them. You don't need revenge. You just need to rise. And when you do, you won't even look back.